Okay.
Right, well, here we are. Welcome. I believe this is episode 7.
7?
7?
Is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Episode 6 of
Cool.
Common Talk. A lot's happened. Well, a lot as in we've had a couple big news stories. And there's going to be a lot to talk about. Oliver is ill. So
yeah, I don't feel too well, but I'm soldering on. I can talk, but I can't laugh. If I laugh, I'll go into a big coughing fit. So, but yeah, let's get straight into it, shall we?
Yeah.
We're talking about BBC.
Do you want to hear a joke? I want to hear you laugh now.
Don't.
Great.
BBC versus Trump, right?
Let's do it. Yeah. So, if you haven't heard, which I'm sure you will because it's been everywhere, Donald Trump has filed a rather large lawsuit against the BBC.
$1 billion.
$1 billion. Now, you may ask, why have they done that? What have the BBC done in their all glory to get a lawsuit from Donald Trump? Well, in my opinion, I think this is pretty justified. If you remember, and I'm sure you do, in January 1st, I believe it was January 1st, was it January 1st riots? January 6th riots. Yeah. Essentially, the media...
You said that like an American as well.
Did I?
Well, we'll say the 6th of January.
The 6th of January.
But Americans will say January the 6th.
Ah.
That's weird.
Do you know what? Do you know why I've heard that? Do you know why I said it like that? Because when I've seen news articles and videos about this, that's how they say it.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was American. Anyway, look, beyond the point. Right. So basically, what happened was a massive riot. Trump essentially led a protest, peaceful protest, as it started anyway, down the Capitol. What was it in protest to? Was it Trump losing the...
he didn't lead it. He wasn't there.
He was there. He gave a speech at it.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't. So
he wasn't part of it. He wasn't walking with them.
Yeah. So I can't massively remember, to be honest. But basically, he didn't win the election for the 2020. The 2020. Yes. Yeah, the 2020 election. Because he won the 2016 and the 2024. So it was the 2020 election that he lost. And he was very bitter about it. And he made huge claims of it being stolen from him, basically.
Rigged, yeah,
and he came up with a load of evidence of why that was all dismissed. And I mean, do you believe it? I don't believe it personally. I'm a fan of Trump. I like Trump. I like his strong man. I think that's what the West needs. But I do think, like all great men, that he is slightly unhinged. And I don't think he can take defeat very well. He's not a man that that can go down in defeat. I think, and there were some things, there were rumors, there's all that kind of stuff, and the conspiracy theories run wild with this sort of stuff. So a lot of people believe that it was robbed, that he should have been president instead of Biden during that time. But it didn't work out that way, and so because a lot of people thought that democracy was under threat, and big fans of Trump, they stormed the Capitol building, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they literally they stormed it, and they trashed the place.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on the left say that is the biggest move against democracy in the United States since I don't know, Civil War or something like that. And that's what it was all about. Yeah. And they were saying that Trump was inciting that. It was inciting the violence, and it was inciting basically a revolt.
Yeah, well, and this is where that was kind of the precursor to this news story. Essentially, what you need to know is that during that time, before there were protests, Trump gave a speech, and it was quite a long speech. But what the BBC did, in their all very corrupt glory, is that they then cut that speech up to make him seem like he was saying one thing where in reality he was saying something else. And I think it's very clear that was the BBC jumping into this political. No, I tell you what it was. It was BBC showing their true colours. It was the BBC having a narrative and wanting to make sure Trump filled that narrative, even though it was fraud. It wasn't really what he said, and therefore it's probably going to be the easiest $1 billion lawsuit there's ever been. But also, interestingly enough, the CEO resigned after this happened, which was a couple of days ago. BBC. There was a couple of people that resigned, actually. And it's really interesting. I think the most interesting thing about this whole story is that it's proved to people at a real breaking point exactly the type of organisation the BBC is. Right? We are in this country, in a lot of Europe, there is a war between the right and the left currently, right? And it's an unspoken war. And do you know what? It's sad. It's really sad to see that that's where it's come to. You know, such a divide between the right and the left.
What?
But every news provider, is that what you call them?
Mainstream media?
Mainstream media has some sort of political belief. You know, they have some sort of narrative. And at the breaking point of the UK's, the BBC has just shown theirs.
So, yeah, I mean, so I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and a lot of them are left-leaning. You know, this is the news agents and places like that. All got ex-BBC presenters on there.
That's typical, isn't it?
So, I mean, that shows in itself where the BBC really laid. And what I find really interesting is their commentary on it. So, I'd be really interested to see if it was the opposite way around. But what they were kind of saying is that the Panorama program, which did this clip, the narrative of that, there was no actual difference. So what they were kind of doing when they changed what Donald Trump said, they were just kind of cutting to the chase. They weren't actually changing the narrative of what he was saying. He was still inciting violence. He was still doing that. So whilst yes, it was a mistake, it was a bit of an editing issue. That's how they explain it. But this is like, I don't know, it's like cheating on your wife and saying it's a mistake. Like, you know, it's not something that you can just cover by saying it was a mistake. Oh, accidentally I fell. You know, no, this is a fundamental thing. Like, they didn't do that by mistake. They knew what they were doing. And this is something, and obviously it's that big that Donald Trump has got involved, and the two most powerful people at BBC have felt the pressure to leave, and rightly so. And so, and that's how this is all happening. But I find it really interesting, the commentary with the left-leaning people kind of just dismissing it as, well, you know, you can't. There is no difference in that splice. It didn't change anything, and it's just crazy. I mean, we also hear commentary from people like Ed Davey, the leader of Liberal Democrats, saying Donald Trump is attacking the BBC. If you are a patriot, you know, if you believe in Britain, do not let Donald Trump take BBC away from us, and stuff like that. There's a lot of those sort of commentary that's happening in and around this as well. And I just think that's crazy. And you actually find people on the right, people like me and you, are really against the BBC, which is weird, right? Because we're patriots, right? We massively believe in this country, and yet we're against something that is very British. BBC, like, is Britain, right? It is, when people think of BBC, they think Britain, okay? Yeah. And that is worldwide. So how can we be against the BBC? Well, it's a funny one, isn't it? But we are, right? But I think we're against them, not just because they're political bias, but because it just doesn't make sense anymore. It's not very, it's too socialism. I mean, the fact that you have a TV license, what is on earth with that? If you ask most people from another country and say, we actually have to pay a license for our TV, they're like, what? You got to pay a license for your TV? That's crazy. People, when there's so much available, why are you paying all this money?
People don't understand that in the UK, we have our income tax, we have our national insurance, but that's only the tip of the iceberg for most of the taxes we pay. TV license. Let's be honest, it's a form of tax.
It is, yeah.
and it's funding the BBC. Now the BBC viewership has just dropped and dropped and dropped. And my generation, the BBC is not even somewhere I go for news. To be honest with you, I have more independent, centre-leaning apps on my phone that will tell me the news from both sides. And this is the problem. And my generation is slowly becoming potentially one of the most political generations around. Now, you don't see this, but I get to see this. I get to see that there's a massive divide in young people. Massive divide. And, let's go back onto the topic of, like, the BBC and TV licenses. I mean, it's something I just disagree with wholeheartedly. I mean, let's be honest. What has the BBC produced that's good? Strictly Come Dancing? No thanks. I don't want to watch that.
It might not be for your generation, but I will tell you, there is a load of people that love the BBC. They love it for the radio. They love it for, Strictly Come Dancing. They love The Traitors. They love...
but ITV make better shows than the BBC do. If ITV tomorrow were we're
so much love for the BBC. You can't deny, right? Even if your generation don't watch it, okay, there was a lot of love for BBC, for their shows, for their content, and I don't disagree with their shows and the content. I'm going to plug this. I've been on Homes of the Hammer several times,
so Oliver's just admitted his opinion is completely biased. And I have the more unbiased opinion. Yeah,
that's true. I'm a little bit biased because of that. But that being said, I completely disagree with the funding model of the BBC. If you watch the BBC, if you like the BBC, you can pay for the BBC, right? But if you don't, you shouldn't be paying for it. It's the same thing as everything else. The reason why they pay for it, the reason why they have that is because back in when TVs were first existed, there was no subscription model, there was no internet, there was no way of paying other than just paying a license. So if you had a TV, you were watching BBC. There was no Sky, there was no Netflix, there was nothing else. If you had a TV, you were watching the BBC. I think that at first there was only one channel, and that was just the BBC. So if you had a TV, then you were watching BBC, right? And then I think BBC Two came, and then ITV, and then Channel 4. Sorry about that. And then a load more channels came. Yeah. But you were still paying the TV license. They still didn't kind of mind, but by that time, I think by the time sort of the 2000s came, it was just part and parcel of culture, right? As in, if you had a TV, you were paying TV license. It was only since, after, I don't know, the last maybe 10, 15 years that people started questioning. I suppose maybe since subscription and stuff came in, people thought, why are we paying for this? We have so many options now. Why are we paying for it? And people are now finding that, actually, maybe we don't need to pay for it. And so there's been loads of people not paying for it. And so they keep trying to change actually the definition of why you should pay for it and why you shouldn't. Anyway, it's kind of going off topic a little bit, but an interesting one. nevertheless, of the whole conversation, we can have a further conversation about the BBC. But I suppose it shows where we are and what we're thinking about the BBC.
Yeah.
So when we see, I suppose, Trump attacking the BBC, we're like, yeah, you go, Trump, because we want to see the BBC punished, right? Because no one holds them to account,
No.
right? And they've done something that's completely outrageous. And is it going to go anywhere? You think yes. I think no. I don't think anything. I think at the very, very least they'll settle with a very small amount of money. But the main thing is that Trump wants to embarrass
and he's
the
done
BBC.
that.
I don't even. Yeah, he's already succeeded. Really, I don't even think there's any sort of recourse in what he can do. Like, was the Panorama show even available in the United States? You know, he'd need to. I mean, how would he even?
But that would be
them?
even worse. If that's not available in the US, that would be even worse.
No, it's not.
I'd say it would.
No, because he can't. Because what he would say is this was produced before the election, and so he can say that part of the reason why he lost the election in 2016 was because foreign intervention from an ally, right? That is largely propped up by the government, right? From a conservative government, led to his losing that election, and that's a massive claim. But that only really massively stick if people in the United States watched it. You know, so if they didn't watch it, but it could have been clipped, it could have been sent out on social media. There could have been loads of things.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a massive. I don't think there's going to be a massive recourse from this. I think, as you said, Trump wanted to embarrass them. He succeeded, right? And that's why he also said to them, he gave them an ultimatum in that they have until the end of the week to apologise or face the lawsuit. Now, let's just be real for a second. A £1 billion lawsuit for the BBC is nothing. It is nothing. They make way more than that in TV licenses alone.
Well, 1 billion? No, 1 billion. That's a lot of money.
Let's have a look.
I think they gain 3.5 billion a year. I heard the other day. So a third of your revenue is quite a lot. I don't think he'll ever succeed in that though, so I won't worry about it.
3.8 billion.
There you go.
The point is that they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine.
Well, it won't be paid. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But it's the threat of it is enough. He knows what he's doing. He's a smart man. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
Should we go on to...
Let's do it. Unemployment. Great word. Great word. We love a bit of economics into this podcast. So to those who are not aware, unemployment has risen to 5%, which is not a catastrophically high number. It's been a lot higher than 5%, but
only in the pandemic.
Yeah, only in 2021.
It was last this high in 2015-ish.
Okay, but you know, even if given the economic situation we have currently, a 5% unemployment rate is not too unfathomable. You know, there's some things that happen.
You trying to justify this?
No. Listen.
News.
Just listen. So, what I'm saying is that I'm not shocked that it's got to 5%.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that it's happening.
Me neither.
Some things,
that's what happens when you tax working people, when you tax businesses. You can't be surprised as a chancellor to see unemployment rate has gone up. It's insane. I think this is fantastic. This is not good news for the country, but it's good to hear before a budget, because I really hope this is obviously when I say this is fantastic, this isn't because this is what I want to hear, but if this is the situation, this is what you want to hear just before a budget, because this is really bad news for Rachel Reeves at the end of the day. Because when this budget hits, if she hits employers anymore, then she'll be hit with this with a massive stick, right? Because you're already hitting employers, and you've seen the effect that does, and you're making it even worse by putting taxes up even higher, making people even making the situation even worse. She's going into a downward spiral. She doesn't know how to run the economy. So this is great timing for the people that are enemies of Rachel Reeves, but not good for the country.
So, yeah, I mean, unemployment rate, obviously, everyone knows what an unemployment rate is. And it's not a good thing at all for the economy, because simply it means that, what's the rate of people that are not working? Interestingly enough, we should see what the labour force participation rate is, because it's slightly different.
It's actually much higher than that, The unemployment rate is much higher than that. Because I had a look the other day. I can't remember which it was, but it's more like 20%. So of those that are of adult age that can work, it's something like 20% in total. So it's something like 15% are on benefits and 5% out of work, something like that. But it's insane. If you actually look at the real figure, these are people that I think are just seeking work. So they're seeking work, they can't find work. That's the 5%. But the people that aren't seeking work, but are on benefits for whatever reason, that probably could work. I would argue most people on benefits could probably work. They could probably do something.
Well, this is why I've looked at the labour force participation rate, because unlike the unemployment rate, this accounts for essentially the total population of working age individuals, right? Because this gives a better representation of how many people of a certain working age are actually working. Now, this is delayed. This is 2024, and it was at 62%. And that's a percentage total of the population. I'm just going to read it out to you. It's the percentage total of the percentage of total population ages 15 plus, and that will go till the retirement age. So that will show you, roughly how many.
What's retirement age now? Like 68 or something.
Something like that. So you could argue that the government.
Sorry, 62% are working between the ages of 15 to retirement age.
That's what the graph shows.
That's insane.
It's terrible, isn't it?
I think, that's production.
What you'll find is that once you overlap this graph with the unemployment graph, you'll start to see a massive correlation, because as unemployment rises, the participation rate drops. So they have an inverse relationship here. So you start to see that this, over the years, has started to go down. Right, in the last couple of years, we've got 62. You can see it's slowly starting to go down. Obviously, there's still 62 because I think it does it in solids. But, it's starting to go down. And if we look at the unemployment rate, you'll find that it's going up.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
So, what's the news for the country, right? Why is unemployment rate so, growing? Why are more people not working? Well, there's simple answers to that. It's not a difficult question. I mean, you can go down the shop and you can talk to someone, and they'll tell you the answer. Employers just don't have the money to take on new people. Massive increase in costs, and that's happening in a lot of Western Europe, a lot of the West. But massive increase in costs. It's not a good time for businesses. It's really not. And I'm fortunate. I don't employ people. Oliver does, right? And when you have those increased costs, what does a business do? Well, the first thing a business is going to do is going to pass on that cost to the consumers, to the customers. And why are they going to do that? Well, because they don't want to fire people. They don't want to let them go. They don't want to go into the black hole. But that's the next stage. Once they start taking on water, a business will have to react. And as Oliver talked about earlier with the budget situation, if Rachel Reeves decides to go hands in on businesses, which I think, personally, real possibility, because she's an idiot anyway, so why wouldn't she, right? I think a lot of businesses are going to get to a point where they're going to have to start letting people go. And when that happens, what do you think is going to happen to the unemployment rate? It's going to increase. it's going to increase. And equal to that, Labour are very, typically, they're very pro-welfare, right? So that's going to make it even worse. And look, the ultimate thing is, the economy, it's a circle. It's a big old circle. Everything works in tangent with each other. And it goes in cycles, and this is just another checkpoint it's reached.
Employment, it just costs too much to employ people.
Yeah.
They have too many rights, and I mean minimum wage is massive now. So it's just crazy. Taxes too high. You've got all the wealthy people leaving, which pay the most tax.
Yep.
It's just, as I said, downward spiral.
Yep.
I liken it to this. Has everyone seen The Lion King?
I have.
Right, okay.
I'm the only one here.
You know when Scar takes over, right?
Yep.
And the whole place is ruined.
Yep.
Okay. And it's because he doesn't understand the circle of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's about it's about just knowing how to work the economy. Right? It's that, I mean, to me, I know I don't do this, right? But in fact, if you speak to most common people, right, they will tell you where the money's going and where it's getting wasted, because it's getting wasted so much. I think I said this in the podcast before, didn't I? Just stop spending money, and we'll be okay. Pay off the debts, right? Stop paying so much interest, right? We'll get a better interest rate if we start paying off the debts, and just stop paying it to people that sit on their arse all day. That's all I've got to say.
And if I want to draw your attention, to when Labour first got into power. If you remember, they spent billions so quickly on, I can't even remember what. It's unfathomable what they were spending money on. One of the things
they caved to the train drivers, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That's one of the things they did. Train drivers kicked up. They're not getting paid enough. And what do? They gave them pay rise.
Yeah.
And you know what?
If you don't like what you're getting paid, leave. Simple as that.
Leave.
Retrain. That's what it is.
And I completely understand. Look, I'm not naive to the fact that these days it's not as simple as that, because this is one of the problems. It's a causal effect. It's great to say leave and understand that, and it's true. But at the same point, what about bloke up north trying to provide for his family? They're already scraping to get by.
Yeah, so leave.
So this is what to do if you're a Labour supporter. Just do nothing. Labour will pay for you, and happy days.
Yeah, and watch the economy go down and down.
Watch your kids never be able to buy a house, or well, they can't all do that already.
They say through the grapevine, they say you watch till next year. Right, till the budget is next year. Well, she has to come back again and ask for even more money, because this budget, she will say, and it'll be really quite funny, because obviously she famously said it last year. She will say, "This is it. We've now paved the way, and this is it." And then next year she'll do the same thing, and this will be where Labour really falls down, because at some point they're going to have to start eating into welfare. They will have to do that, and that's when Labour will implode, we think.
Labour are already slowly imploding. Half the party is absolutely disgusted at Rachel Reeves breaking the tax promises.
Well, should we go on to the
Good Morning Britain?
Well, I was thinking, as we're talking about troubles within Labour, we could stick with that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, let's do that.
This is the number one news right this very moment.
Go ahead. I'll let you read it out, and then I'll tell you.
So,
what I think.
This has come from number 10. So this is coming from
number 10 Downing Street.
So this is coming from the top.
The big man.
Yeah, that there has been. He's denying any rumours of of there being a takeover, right? Of trying to get rid of him. So he's saying that he will fight for his job, but everyone, I think people are saying, well, why are you fighting for a job? Where's the leadership challenge? Now, everyone knows that Wes Streeting has got leadership ambitions, and so he has said that he is not a threat to Keir Starmer currently. But Shabina Mahmood also might throw her hat in. I think it's a bit like when you see the I'm going to use another one, but the King of the Jungle, the lion going down, everyone will just pounce on them if they feel like they're a little bit weak. Yeah. They feel like there's somewhere where they can bite, they can go in. Then, like vultures, they'll all just come in for the kill together.
It's like working in corporate.
Yeah. So It's still like breaking news, so we don't quite know what's happening. We're filming this on a Wednesday, so PMQs are happening right now, but we don't know. But we feel like, and it's because he is the most unpopular prime minister since records began. The economy is going down the Swanee. He's losing every single by-election. He did terribly in May. It's all the polls suggest that if there was an election tomorrow, he would lose massively. So it is just it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when he will go. Yep. There is no fantastic way to oust him. Conservatives have a much easier way to oust him, but if he goes on his own accord, that's the easiest way. But then who's going to replace him?
Just to give perspective, which is something I just thought about. Keir Starmer is more unpopular than Liz Truss. She lasted less time than a rotting watermelon? Was that it?
It was a lettuce.
Lettuce.
Yeah, the Sun newspaper, I think, put a lettuce on their front page and said this lettuce will last longer than her, and it did. I still feel that was a massive shame and a massive embarrassment for the country. But anyway, so that's that. So not much really to say, other than watch this space. And by the time we do this next week, we might even hear that he stepped down. Fingers crossed.
That won't happen. I think the only way Starmer's getting out of that office is kicking and screaming like a little boy. I think he is. He's so wrapped up thinking he is going to make a difference. It's just going to take time.
When you hear him, I think he genuinely believes it. Like I think so when he says and you can hear it when he says what I'm hearing from when I'm hearing from the public that we need to go faster. We need to reach there stronger, quicker, faster. We need to get to where we need to be. It's like no. You're going in the wrong direction. It's literally like someone driving a bus, right? And all the passengers are saying you're going the wrong way. And what the bus driver is hearing is, we need to get there quicker, right? No, you're going the wrong way, mate. It's not, you're not running this right. Anyway, that's that. Talk about Good Morning Britain.
Let's talk about Good Morning Britain. So, all the viewers watching, you may have seen a clip on Good Morning Britain recently of a former World War II veteran, I believe he was in D-Day, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was involved in somewhere of D-Day. He essentially said, kind of at the mid to end of his interview, that all of his friends that he watched die, the sacrifice was not worth it for what we have today. And this is a really, really interesting point. But before we talk a little bit deeper about that, I think you need to know what happened straight after. One of the presenters of the Good Morning Britain turned around and said, "What do you mean by that?" Now, there's times in life where you shut up and listen. I'll give you an occasion. Do you remember when you were younger, you did something wrong at school, your parents were scolding you for it, and instead of being sat there and arguing with them, you just shut up and you just listen. And I think this was a very similar occasion. Because when a bloke that has watched his brothers die at war, he experienced World War II, horrors that none of my generation, or none of Oliver's generation, probably more likely Oliver's generation, and generation ahead of him will experience. When he's experienced that and he says those things, that's just a position where you shut up and you listen. And it is so sad, the response. But let's talk about what he meant by it, because I think we all know what he meant by it.
Well, do we, though? And I think that, I mean, I know what you're saying about shut up and listen, but I think maybe the presenter was trying to douse any flames, because it could be that he's not happy with the way it's being run, as in doesn't like the way the economy is. But I think we all know what he means, because if you look at the fundamental difference of the country now as a country then, it's how it's changed with its standing in the world, right? With its respect from everybody, everywhere else in the world. It was back in those days. It was one of the most powerful countries in the world.
No.
Yeah, it was.
It was probably the most powerful country.
Not post-war.
Not post-war, but pre-war.
Pre-war, yeah. I mean, probably from
we still had the empire at the time.
Yeah, but only just. It was the war that made us lose the empire.
It was the World War I, wasn't it, that started collapsing the empire?
No, World War II did it.
World War II did it, but
yeah.
we
still
by
had
the end
India.
of World War One. Yeah,
but basically, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, ironically, it was the World Wars that kind of started it all, because it meant that all the colonies couldn't hold on to the countries that they had. They also brought in a lot of foreign fighters as well. So you had a lot of African people, a lot of Indian people that all fought in the war on Britain's behalf.
Yeah.
And so post-war, a lot of them were invited back to the UK. And so it kind of, one thing leads to another. And the funny thing about history is it never kind of ends. There's always a reason for that, and then that's a reason for that, and that's a reason for that. And so
got a cause
it's kind of
effect.
like a case of, but it's kind of how far do you go back? But the truth is you can go back since the bloody dawn of time to actually see where something's come from. But yeah, I think most people, I don't know. I don't want to put words into the guy's, mouth.
Well, no, he spoke about freedom after that.
Did he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he afterwards, because they asked him when he said, "Oh, what do you mean by that?"
So do you think he's talking about people getting locked up for hurted words on Facebook?
Yeah.
Or do you think
I
he's
think
talking about
generally? I think he's saying, "Look, we went to fight for you because of freedom. We wanted to have freedom. We wanted to have freedom from the Axis powers, right?" And now he turns around and goes, "Well, this is not freedom. People can't go out and say what they want to say."
But do you think he was talking about that?
Right, let's run the clip.
Or do you think?
Let's just run the clip.
Yeah, right. Whilst you're finding it, he could have been talking about that, or he could be talking about the different demographics of the country, because they are profoundly different. You think about all the illegal people coming into the country, 1,000 people a day in some days. Even legal migration, that massively changes cultures of places. And we don't know. Do you know where the guy lives? Do you know where the guy lives? He could be living in a...
Yes, he lives... I think he mentioned he lived down south.
Because he could be living in an area that is being massively changed by immigration. There are plenty of places in the UK that over the past 50 years have been massively changed by immigration to the point where white British native people are the minority in their own towns, and if if he lived in one of those towns, you'd probably be forgiven for thinking that that's what he was talking about. So I do think it's important to maybe find out what it was, but at the same time, he can't really say anything, because if he did, he's gonna get booed from whichever side, isn't he?
Right, so first time so far we've had a bit of a pause. We were filming this podcast, but our SD card has corrupted on one of our cameras. So we've decided to make this podcast an audio only one. So what we've just watched is, me and Oliver just watched the clip from Good Morning Britain of Alec Penstone. Is that his name? I believe. Penstone. Essentially saying, that it wasn't worth it for the freedom we have, for the type of freedom we have now. So you've watched it now, Oliver. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I had watched it. I mean, I even posted it on my own Facebook. I tell you what, it's just emotional, isn't it? Really, you can hear it. You can hear it in, and it's not nice seeing 100-year-old man who fought for our country being almost brought to tears on national TV because he's ashamed of to see the country that he fought for in the state that it's in, and I think that's just a huge reflection on everybody, to sort of think to themselves, why that is. I tell you what, an interesting thing is, whenever I'm very interested in history. And I am part of a lot of Facebook groups where this is like a bit geeky.
I love history as well.
Where it shows pictures of before and after, of streets, what they look like before, and how that same street looks like now. And I'll tell you what, it always looked better before. Mm-hmm. It always looked better before. The shops were full. There was a huge amount of cars on the road. Everybody was dressed nicely. Everything seemed cleaner. It's just, everything seemed better. And they had a lot less back then. And yet everything, when you look at it, it seemed better. So where have we fucked up? Where have we gone wrong? It almost feels like today, everyone's attitudes has just changed. People expect something for nothing. People don't want to work as hard as they used to. People don't have pride. They don't have pride over their own homes. People don't have pride over what they look like. People don't have pride over, their own self. They don't have pride over their country, their town, or anything, So I think when you look at it like that, I think there's a huge argument to say that for many reasons this country is not the country that man fought for, and I think for that it's extremely sad, and I do believe that that there is a fight back, and we need to be on the right side of it. That's what I have to say on it.
I'm so it's interesting because this man would have been similar age to me, and I think of my generation, the generation that's gonna carry on that torch, and it does scare me. It scares me, the divide we have. It scares me that people are no longer able to speak about their problems. It scares me that the attitude men have, said men there, because I'm not a woman, and therefore it's disingenuous for me to talk about women, but you could say women as well. And I think it's one of those situations where you're really ill, yeah? And the one thing you crave, the one thing more than anything in the world, is you just want to be healthy again, right? We've all felt like that. I'm sure you have. You know, you're sat in your bed, you're coughing, maybe you're vomiting, I don't know, and you just think, oh God, I just want to feel healthy again. And then somehow, when you're healthy, you don't ever think back at it. And I think it's one of those situations where we've massively taken it for granted. And do you know what happens?
What have we taken it for granted?
Everything. I mean, think of it logically. You know, that bloke, he watched his friends die. You know, he's experienced more horrors than most people ever will. And I think we've taken for granted the fact that, you know, one thing we do talk about a lot in this podcast is we talk about the state of the UK, because we care about this country. We really do. You know, we don't want it to go down the path that it's going down. And if talking about it is going to solve it, fine, because we can't really do anything about it. You know, we're not of political power. We have no control over these things. But we do care about it. And
but the public have the power at general election, and they haven't been exercising that.
But this is part of the reason. You know, people have taken for granted, you know, what we have. And, you know, now we're edging closer to a very volatile state. You know, it's unfair to say that we're not close to a potential conflict. You know, and
if there was a civil war now, there was a big riot against the government, would you join in? If it was gaining momentum, and and all your friends were saying, right, we're all going down to London, we're going to make a stand.
Well, I went to the protest.
All right.
In London, didn't I?
So you would? I don't know, because I whilst I believed in the cause, I don't believe in a way of doing it. I don't believe and this is why on that protest they turned around and said people don't get violent. Yeah. Because
you get violent, you're going to give the government everything they need, and it's true. It's true.
Also, though, it's not the right way to topple.
No. There's a smart. If you wanted to topple the government, there is a smart way to do it. You know, Madagascar's just had that. You heard?
No.
There was a massive Gen Z coup, and a part of the military. Well, it's funny, but it happened in Nepal. I'm sure you heard about that.
What was a Gen Z coup?
Gen Z coup. So it was a bunch of basically my generation that hated the way things are run, and massive protests. And the military general started backing them, and he's now in control of the country. You know,
so that's not what you want.
No, but what I'm saying is that, you know, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, and violence is the wrong way. You know, I don't know. It's just it's a bit of a shame. It's not a bit of a shame. It's a massive shame.
Well, look, we shouldn't have voted for Labour. I didn't vote for Labour. You didn't vote for Labour. Idiots voted for Labour. A lot of people voted for Labour, and they're all got hoodwinked, basically, by Labour, and they're all regretting it now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Should we call it there? Or anything else to say?
Yeah. I mean, we can we can call this one there. I think that's fair enough. Well, look,
this will be fun on the edit.
Yeah, well, this will be quite an easy one to edit, to be fair. So, you know, to everyone watching, thank you.
See you later.
See you later. Have a good time.
That was such a weird outro. So everybody, it's like, you know, when you're on the phone to someone and you want to say goodbye, but you don't quite know how to say goodbye, and you're kind of like, I guess, see ya later then.
That was a terrible outro.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah,
that's really annoying.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if you enjoyed watching this or listening to this,
like,
should I
follow,
say?
share.
Yeah. All the above.
Tell your mum. Tell your cousins.
Tell your dog.
Yeah.
Never know. And we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.